Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is an emotional but yet powerful story. We're going to go into one woman's journey of corporate America and how, after 21 years of being involved in corporate America, seeing what goes on behind the scenes and realizing that I've had enough and I need to take what I've had enough of and make sure that it doesn't happen to the next person. The thing about the Andre the Beast Crayton shows, we have very impactful stories of that beast mindset and how people take that beast mindset and turn it into something more, meaning more meaningful that it's going to help the next person and the next person and the next person. The young lady that's appearing today shared a beautiful story of trials and tribulation and resilience and overcoming. I guess I'm a little shaken because when she shared her story briefly, the one part that touched me more than anything is it took 21 years. 21 years, that's a long time to devote your time to someone or something. Welcome to the show, Miss Christina Andes. Got it right.
Yes, thank you. And a lot of people butcher my last name, so you did great.
Andes. You know how I remembered it? Like you said, the Andes Mountains.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Let's take the viewers a little bit in who Christina Andes is before we get into your whole in-type story.
So, yeah, I am literally a mom and a grandma, believe it or not. People are always shocked when I say that, but I have four grandkids too.
Okay.
But I recently, in September, started my own business of Healthy Horizons, where I am helping people really lose weight, repair their metabolisms, and feel fabulous. And it's been a long journey to get here. And I'm super passionate about being a certified nutrition coach and a fast metabolism diet coach. It's just, I have a lot of people cry and a lot of people get emotional. There's a lot into people being overweight and wanting to lose weight. It's not just about being overweight. There's a lot in it. And it's sometimes you feel like your therapist a little bit.
Mhm. In order to be a certified metabolism
Diet coach.
diet coach, let's go back a little bit because this just didn't happen overnight, even
No,
though the company
no.
is new. Let's go back a little bit with you as a young girl and how this road actually paved to where it is today.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back way back
Let's
to
go
my
way back.
20s. I'll go back to my 20s. I actually had kind of a rough childhood too, but I'll start in my 20s. I actually had two small children and I was actually in a very toxic marriage and I ended up divorced and I was raising two small children on my own. And at the time, I actually was working at my local hospital and I was just a head of housekeeping.
How old were you at this time that you was in this toxic relationship?
I was 26. Well, at 26 is when I got divorced. So, and I was with him since I was 19.
Okay, so from 19 to 26, you were a single mom.
No, that's actually when I was in a very bad marriage. And then from 26 on for 6 years, I was a single mom.
Okay. And then
And
you wind up working in the hospital. I'm just trying to make sure
yep,
that the
yep,
viewers get
yep.
a
I
clear
was
picture of
working in
what's
the
going on.
hospital and I was pregnant with my third child, and she's with my current husband now, who adopted my other two children.
Mhm.
But when I got pregnant, I wanted to change my life. I wasn't making much income, and I did awesome in high school. I actually ended up with a full ride scholarship to get me through college, which is amazing. I can say that it was amazing. So I put myself, while working full time and having 3 children, and at the time my youngest was a year old, I went to school full time, which was a huge undertaking. I didn't sleep much those days, but I finished college and there was an opening at the hospital for chief financial officer. So I started doing that and I did it for 13, 14 years. So total, I put in 21 years in my local hospital,
What does a
which,
chief financial officer do for the viewers who are not familiar with hospital titles?
yeah, so I was oversight of several departments, accounts receivable, which is going to be your billing, making sure insurance gets billed out. I think everybody knows insurance. Healthcare is a nightmare.
Mhm.
I also head of medical records, and I was also head of central supply and in charge of the books and Medicare cost reports, which a lot of people probably are not familiar with, but that's something that all hospitals have to do on an annual basis. So high stress, extremely high stress during COVID because a lot of things changed during COVID.
Mhm.
Um, and then also in about my mid 30s, I started having some health problems due to my organs being backwards, which is situs inversus totalis is the medical term for it. And there's like 1 in a million people that actually have that issue. And they still haven't medically figured out really how to help me, but it was taking a toll on my health to the point I couldn't even hardly walk across a room. That's how bad my lungs can get. Um,
I'm not going to cut you off, but
yeah.
you said that's clearly rare that the statistics of how
Mhm.
many people have this. What's a day like for you having this? Take the viewers down a normal day for you.
So for the most part, like I didn't even know I had it until I was almost 30. I didn't know my organs were backwards. So it really didn't start impacting me until I got older. And I ended up with pneumonia, which is how they found out my organs were backwards. So like my heart is on the opposite side of my body,
Right.
my lungs are backwards, everything's backwards.
How come
Um,
they didn't know about this? I mean, as a female,
I've
I'm just
said
curious.
that.
I mean, you've
I
had
know, three
two
kids.
kids, three, well,
I have
three,
three
but two.
kids.
Let's go back. You had two, even your first kid. Don't you guys get physicals? Pap
Yeah,
smears.
I have no idea. I have
How do
no
you
idea.
not know you know that you got this with X-rays and MRIs?
Yeah. Well, that was probably my first x-ray, my first chest x-ray, honestly, because I was super healthy. So I usually didn't get sick, but that time it took me down. And then after that, I would start having what they call flare-ups or episodes, but they last 6 months to where I cough constantly. I mean, I've been on 80 milligrams of prednisone. Prednisone has been like my friend, and then usually 2 or 3 inhalers on top of that just to get through my day.
Hmm.
Um, it's not pleasant, but I have turned to nutrition and I'm learning that food is medicine. And honestly, I have not had an episode in probably over 2 years now. So
You said you was in this hospital for 21 years
21
before you
years.
recognized what was going on. What was actually taking place outside of what you was dealing with that you
So
finally
like,
had your eyes opened?
so at the hospital, I was just in a toxic work environment. There was somebody there that just made my life miserable and everyone else's life miserable. I honestly liked my hospital job, but when I left there to go to the accounting firm, I will talk about that.
Or wait a
Um,
minute, what was some of the toxicity? I want to know. You
Toxicity, you
just
want to know? Oh
Yeah,
no.
I mean, yeah. What was some of the 21 years of you dealing with?
She was just a very nasty human being.
Like, what was some of the things she was doing that made her nasty?
She would literally slam doors, throw fits, cuss, swear. I mean, she was allowed to have behavior that nobody should have. Literally, she was not professional in any capacity. She also, in my opinion, did not know her job well and should have been fired. That was my professional opinion. And because I was actually over her, but I was stopped by the CEO from doing that multiple times. And we lost several employees, good employees, because of this individual.
So let me get this straight. I was just in the hospital a couple weeks ago for surgery, and if someone was doing what she was doing, you have an obligation to address this. So you're telling me it was addressed.
I
Individuals,
addressed it with her. I mean, it was ugly. And I will tell you, before I'd quit, we were enrolled in a leadership program for a year. All of the executives at the hospital were, and literally working with this trainer that I was working with and meeting with, literally, she helped open my eyes. She's like, why are you guys putting up with somebody like that? That needs to go to an attorney, to HR. There's no reason. And it wasn't just me. I mean, the director of nursing felt the same way about this individual. It wasn't just, so it's not just me against her. It literally was multiple people. Um,
I know
she
you
was
can't give her name out, but like,
right.
what were some of the things that she was doing that could have impacted the lives of a patient? I can't even imagine somebody with your title and other chief executives and head leaders
So for
condone this.
so some of the people we lost literally were nurses and medical record staff over this individual. And what I can tell you is that what her capacity of, she was just completely rude. Like I had several of the charge nurses turn her over for her behavior towards them. She didn't understand that the nurses were busy, that they had jobs to do. She picked the worst time to try to talk to them, and just was really inconsiderate. And she would just stomp. And people don't go to work to be treated like crap. Quite frankly, it was bad. Um,
Why do you think? And
why do I think she
we're
got
not
away
even gonna
with
mention the
it?
hospital or nothing like that because I don't know
Yeah.
but eyesight, you was there. Why do you think they allow the head staffs that make the decision allow this behavior to
So
be taken?
the CEO said he was worried about an age discrimination lawsuit. That was his reasoning, but she also is friends with the executive assistant, and the executive assistant goes above and beyond to protect her.
Were there complaints outside of the people that work there? What about an individual like myself? What if I'm there and was my
As
complaints being
patients,
heard?
yes, she actually worked as a biller. So yeah, there were people that complained to me. I had patients complain to me about her and her behavior, and they refused to talk to her.
You know, people will find this hard to believe, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And honestly, when I left, I contemplated on my own lawsuit, but I had to walk away from all of it. I just had to let it go for my own well-being because it caused a lot of stress over a lot of years. And I'm not gonna lie, there were tears. There were times that I told the CEO I couldn't do it anymore, and he's like, I'll fix it, but it was never fixed.
How many times did they say they're going to fix it?
I would say at least 3 or 4 times.
And to your best of your knowledge, it's still going on.
Yes, I know for a fact it is because some of the staff that worked under me told me that it hasn't changed.
That's really sad. To me, that's almost like a lawsuit waiting to happen,
Mhm.
then addressing the situation head on. But all of this conflict of 21 years still had a major impact on what you was dealing with health wise, correct?
Absolutely. And actually, she was one of the people that complained to the CEO about my coughing and that I shouldn't be at the facility, even though he
What she
had
said you had
medical.
COVID.
I mean, it was even before COVID. So, I mean,
Really?
my medical record, the CEO was well aware of my situation. I have nothing contagious. It is my own medical issue. But she tried to say I didn't belong there, that I need it was just terrible. And it's the lack of compassion for other people is sad because it was obviously, it is still today. I do worry. My last episode was after a COVID vaccine, which by the way, I will never get another COVID vaccine. I thought it was going to kill me.
What do you
It was
mean?
serious.
Let me ask the question real quick. You get the COVID vaccination. Were you aware that you had this
Yes.
situation with your organs and so forth?
Yes.
The doctors was aware of this too.
Yep.
They put when they gave you the shot, did they tell you that you might be considered high risk? Was there enough information about what you had for them to even say you need to
They
get this
don't
shot?
know. They have no clue. They have no clue. And you got to remember that we had to be vaccinated to continue working at the hospitals. That wasn't a choice in the medical field.
So you got a disrupt employee who's
Mhm.
discouraging other employees. You're dealing with health issues as well as this woman probably knows you don't pretty much care for her, so she's not going to make your
Oh, she's
environment friendly.
yeah, she's well aware. And I mean, I don't like confrontation. I don't. I'm pretty friendly, easygoing person, but I got very confrontational with her. I had to like bring everything to the forefront, to the table. And there were times it would be okay. Like she would start being nice for a little while, but it never lasted.
Isn't that called passive aggressiveness?
Yes, it was very passive aggressive. And I it was just a terrible thing. And it was also terrible for me to watch other people go through that. It wasn't just me. There were a lot of
How
people
many
in
complaints were you getting from even patients every day that was gone unheard?
quite a few. I wouldn't say every day. I wouldn't say it was every day, but I had a lot. I had a huge file on her.
You shared this information with your partner, your husband. What was his take on what you was dealing with, knowing your health situations, knowing going into a stressful, toxic environment? What was his
My husband was extremely supportive. I'll say I'm super lucky to have him. I mean, I don't even know how many people for me to just up and quit and do something totally different is quite a leap of faith. And I think he knew I had to. I was starting to get scared about my health. I really was. And we knew something had to give.
what part of that being scared about your health took priority? Were you put in a life and death situation? Did you get news from a doctor that says, hey, you better
Yeah,
quit your
so
job?
I tell you what, it was a wake up call when I got I did have COVID, and the CEO immediately made a phone call to one of our bigger hospitals and got me in for an infusion right away because he knew of my health issues and he was legitimately concerned. I will say that the CEO
Right.
was legitimately concerned. So when I was in there getting my infusion, the nurse was monitoring my vitals and he literally is like, your blood pressure, and it was out of control, and it had been for years, and I'd known it. He was the first one who actually addressed it though.
Hmm.
He asked me what I did for a living, and he said, you probably should switch careers or you're not going to live to be 50. And that was a big wake-up call for me because I had not had anyone be that direct. And
Doesn't that
they also had my medical records because that's the same facility that I go to my pulmonologist.
doesn't that make you kind of question the medical field, not not as a whole, but just in general? This is the medical community where you live at that's been surveying you, and it took this one guy to be blanked and open. If you don't freaking get out of this toxic situation, get your stuff together, you're going to be dead before you're 50 years old.
Yeah. And the CEO of the hospital met with me at one point and said, I can tell you're burning out. And I'm like, I'm burning out because of our environment. It's like so hard to walk into an environment that's toxic every day. For anybody who's been through it, it's hard, and I, I don't know. I think it's sad that anyone has to do that. So I moved on from that and I went to work, like I said, for an accounting firm, corporate America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that just wasn't the right fit for me either. It was still really high stress because of my background as the CFO of a hospital. Also, I did an interim hospital. I worked as an interim CFO for another hospital while
Mhm,
working at my current hospital.
mhm.
I did some crazy things. I don't know. But because of my background and my knowledge, they bumped me way up and they were hoping I could be a leader in the healthcare field for the accounting firm.
Mhm.
But they outsourced primarily all their work to India, who doesn't understand our US healthcare or the accounting for it for Medicare cost report purposes. And my ethics and morals I couldn't stay there. I just couldn't because the
When you
company
talk
cared more.
about ethics and morals, I would assume I would say it so the backlash goes to me and not you. Let's just call it what it is. I'm pretty sure the ethnics code is it's cheaper to push the immigration individuals in the door to avoid paying them health care, or basically to get them at a lower cost. Let's call it what it is.
Absolutely. It's a lot lower cost and they don't have the knowledge or the education. And I actually watched people on our US team, just the staff accountants, they were looking for work and they were struggling with not getting work because all the work was being sent overseas.
How did
Um,
that make you feel in general?
it was terrible because I want jobs in the US. And not only that, it was hard for me to get behind meetings with clients when I knew the work was subpar. That's tough. And I can tell you, the companies, our clients are paying big money for that. So it was just hard. So I had to walk away. And I literally walked away not 100% sure of what I was going to do.
I can see by the expression and the tone in your voice, you took all of this very, very seriously because
Absolutely.
you saw the impact that it was not only having on yourself, but the impact that it was causing on citizens in America in general, especially when you're talking about a topic as crucial as health. You know, you
Mhm.
won't, it's not that you want to keep jobs in America and so forth, but and it's not like you want to discriminate against other ethnic groups. What you want to do is make sure that you got somebody that's capable of understanding that giving you information, you need to be coherent to understand it so you can make sure that when somebody calls on the phone or whatever, you are knowledgeable enough to understand the policies.
Correct. Correct. And I'm all for, I mean, my sister-in-law's from the Philippines. I have no issues against other groups for
Right,
sure.
right. I got you. So
Yeah.
with that said, your health is still questioned. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, I'm
How
not
did
sure what's gonna happen. I haven't had a flare up or an episode, however you want to call it now, for a while. And I do think it is a big part of, for one, not being in a high stress situation. Two, I'm eating a lot better. I'm taking care of myself and making myself a priority. That's huge. Um, really, really passionate about my new career. I really love helping people, and that's important. And I also have a good understanding of some people's journeys.
right?
Even if it's not the same health journey as mine, I understand the struggles that other people are having. So I think that helps me be a better coach.
You mentioned
Um,
three key words: mind, body, and soul.
yeah, I do believe mind, body, and yeah, spirit really is. Those are the keys to overall health. And I think it takes all three of them. I don't think you can just have one of them. I think you have to work on all three.
How
Uh,
is your mind, body, and soul now that you've taken? This is what I tell people that beast mindset. But my hats off to you for the compassion to share this story, the compassion to realize that moral ethics is important, not the dollar. But
yeah,
then, more importantly, what I love about this whole story is that you took a leap of faith in yourself without the resources. You got to have money or resources to move to anything that you do in life. Let's get real. And
Yeah.
you've done this. With that said, what was the final straw that really made you say, I'm just going to take a leap in myself?
Oh, well, I had the opportunity to do the certification for being a fast metabolism diet coach. And I thought highly of the gal that trained me. I had watched her for the last 9 years. So,
You said watch it for the
I
last
watched her
nine
for nine
years.
years. Her first book came out 10 years ago. Um, and her name's Haley Pomeroy. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's actually a celebrity nutritionist. She works with a lot of celebrities, and she's impossible to get into. But she trained me, and that was pretty exciting. And while I was doing that training, I'm like, why can't I do this? Like, I want to help people. This is something I can get behind. And in the meantime, I'm also thinking of myself, like I'm wanting to work on me.
Mhm.
And so I did it all basically at the same time. But honestly, starting that training and knowing that I was working to be the certified fast metabolism diet coach, and the more I got into it, I'm like, why can't I start my own business and do this for a living?
What
And to be
exactly is a certified metabolism coach?
fast metabolism
I've
diet
never even,
coach.
I'm a personal trainer, retired and a nutritionist, and I know what the words mean, but I've never know that they just pick words out and all of a sudden they go, I'm a fast nutritional metabolism.
Fast
What is,
metabolism diet. Yeah. So we really work on people's metabolisms. We know that they're broken because of inflammation,
Mhm.
digestion, or some people call it gut or hormone imbalances. So what we're trying to do is kind of go in and figure out with that individual what's holding them back from losing their weight. We also are really trained on what superfoods to help different situations depending on what the person's dealing with, whether it be fatigue, maybe it's high cholesterol, maybe they have an autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
I mean, some of my clients have multiple issues going on, so it just kind of depends on that person. And so we're trained, and I do hold, I'm also a certified nutrition coach, so I hold that too. But I will say the certificate for the fast metabolism diet is more about the person and actually coaching the person, where the other one is more on the scientific level.
Mm. We
So
we talk about nutrition and metabolism, but let's get real. I can go to the store. I'm more about understanding what you put in your body and reading your labels because the same food
absolutely.
products in the United States is totally different than that of our counterparts abroad, which
Mhm.
happens to be a little bit more um metabolism friendly.
Yeah, they're ahead of the game, right? We're not
Yeah.
doing a really knock-up job in the US, which is why our obesity rates are going up, our diabetes rates are going up. And who profits? The big pharmaceutical companies, right? They like us sick. I firmly believe that.
How do you guys get people without giving your method so much because I know you guys teach it, but what are one of the main things that you see people coming to you with? And then what is the one thing that you would recommend people do to start their journey? Because people, as a trainer myself, what I find is the path to less resistance isn't always going to be the same for everybody that walks through that door because a lot of people are reluctant to change.
That's correct. And that's a mindset, right? And
Right.
that's hard. It's super hard in our habits, especially, when I'm working with people older, they're very set in their mindset. I'm not going to say it's easy, but just like you said, you do have to give up probably some of the foods that you are used to eating and
Mhm.
change your mindset to eating whole foods, foods without all the chemicals in them. I actually had just put out on my social media a thing on reading labels. It's funny that you mentioned that. I just did a reading
Really?
label.
Hey, I didn't check your social medias. I didn't look at it.
Yeah, I just did that, I think yesterday, on reading
Okay.
labels and that there's so many chemicals and our food is so processed today. And I think it got worse after COVID. Matter of fact, I don't think I know. There's surveys that were done and our nutrition level went down by 70%
It's
after.
so funny you said that because I was sharing this with somebody during COVID. I was really baffled that a restaurant was considered. This is so funny now. You're talking a pandemic. The first thing in a pandemic is to isolate, plain and
Yeah.
simple. Quarantine, isolate. Only essential workers need to be out at that time, or maybe me going to check on the elderly or so forth. When has a this is one thing that boggled me. How in the hell did restaurants all of a sudden within a few couple weeks be allowed to serve food during a pandemic? You couldn't go
Right.
in. This was the tripped out part. You couldn't go in, but they could bring your food to you in a
Yeah.
bag. And I'm thinking to myself, as someone that's in healthy and fitness and eating, the first thing I did during the COVID was make sure I had fresh oranges, fresh veggies. Um, I didn't even get meats. I got like tuna, really good tuna,
Yeah.
uh, rice, beans, things that I knew was as healthy as possible without causing uh, uh, additional illnesses. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's what's your
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
I think that's really interesting. Man, so many people eat out now, right? And I think that's some of the worst food that we can put in our bodies. So I find that interesting. And nutrition, so our bodies need nutrition for everything they do. I don't
Mhm.
care. I mean, everything we do is dependent on nutrition. And food is medicine, right? So during COVID, eating out, and of course, having people bring your food to you, who
Mhm.
knows that they don't have COVID? Who knows that the kitchen doesn't have COVID? And then you're going to spread it at such a fast rate on top of eating foods usually full of trans fats and fully processed and yada yada, you know. Um,
Does your program remodify the thinking of people to get back to old habits where
yes.
you sat at the dinner table, you made meals, you understood portion control, you
And
understood that certain foods will cause inflammation?
yes, it's real. We talk about inflammation actually a lot. And eating, this is a mindset that I see a lot in older people is you got to eat less and you got to work out a lot. And I'm like, no, your body needs food. And I can actually say, if you're eating the right food, you can eat more to lose more. And that is such a hard mindset for a lot of my clients to get through that. Like I can actually eat and lose weight. That is so hard, but it matters on what food you are eating, just like you were just talking.
Mhm.
And then we want to be eating more than once a day. I'm not a fan of intermittent fasting. I'm just not, because it just doesn't make sense to me to go all these hours without any food. You're not taking any nutrition into your body to get the energy your body needs, and your body will take it. It's going to take it from your organs, it's going to take it from your muscle, it's going to take it,
Mhm.
but it's not getting it from food because you're not feeding your body.
You said that before we wrap up, and once again, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us with your story and telling us about your new business venture. I want you guys to make sure you support her in her journey to healthy lifestyle as well. You mentioned that you struggled a little bit with your weight. Did you
Yeah.
take did you take your newfound information and apply it to yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I lost 30 pounds, which to other people would be even more. I'm pretty short. I'm pretty small. So 30 pounds on me was a lot of weight. It truly was. And I weigh 128 pounds right now, and I'm not like super skinny by any means. I could actually probably lose some more. I'm not a big person. Um,
Is this more, is your plan or your, I don't want to call it a plan, is your method
it,
suitable for all ages? Because we
yes,
having a problem with kids as well. So is this a
yes,
plan
absolutely.
that can be employed with our children?
Absolutely. You absolutely can. And the other thing with it, it's sustainable. I feel like I usually do like a 3 or 6 month program with my clients. And the reason I do that is because I feel like it's enough time to change some habits
Mm-hmm.
and to be sustainable and for them to have all the information they need to be successful for the long term. Like I don't want yo-yo dieting.
Right.
I don't want people going up and down. I want it to be sustainable. I want it to be a life change for them and to really put some thought into what we take into our bodies, what it's doing for us.
What is the one thing that you would recommend for our audience to at least try to change on their journey?
Honestly,
Because we all
uh,
have bad habits. If you had to recommend
yes, I would
something,
say try to eat less processed foods. That would be the number one thing. And just honestly read your labels. The fewer ingredients on a label, the safer it's going to be. If you're reading a bunch of words that you have no idea what they mean, it's probably not a good ingredient.
how can the viewers reach out to you and support you and be a part of your new journey to helping other individuals?
Yeah, so I'm on social media. Also, I have a website. It's healthyhorizonscoach.net. That's a really good way to get a hold of me. You can actually email me and you can set up free discovery calls with me. I do a free discovery call to see if I'm a good fit for people, if they like what I have to say before they hire me. So that's a really good way to reach me.
Before we close out, what's your health like now? You have a
It's
situation that I've never heard
good.
of. And
I
thank
don't
you
even
so
know if you
much.
guys can tell. Like I have people run into me and they're like, you glow. Like I'm feeling good. I just seen my pulmonologist actually this week and I had the best breathing test I've had since I started seeing him, which it was, oh my gosh, over 15 years ago.
Right.
Um, my cholesterol is amazing. I no longer have any high blood pressure. It's totally gone. My blood pressure sits 100% normal. I have lots of energy and I feel great. I really do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Once again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your show. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you support her. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.